Alright, so I just got back from lunch and I had to go get a part. I had to go get a different connection for the airline here. So I gotta connect my airline to that just so I can have my shut-off valve, and figured I'd bring you in and show you kind of what's going on today while nobody else is here. So this is the other side of the stone I was working on yesterday, so I'm kind of doing the same thing, except for instead of doing starburst on, you know, all of these panels, I'm going to use my air hammer, and these little bits go inside here, you know, and you're holding it and it's hammering up and down, and I'm going to texture all four sides with different bits here. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to put that new end on my hose. I figured I'd take the time while no one else is here and just kind of walk you guys around. There is a little bit of noise, you know, air's still on and there's still a generator going, so if it's loud I apologize, but that's a giant blade, and this guy's doing a pretty cool flower scene coming up, a kind of a unique piece. This is my instructor. This was all, you know, he pitched all of that today. It was all up like that, so I'm not sure what he's gonna do with that, but it's pretty cool. I know this gentleman said he was making a dog like food bowl and water bowl out of that. This one's really cool. On the other side of this, he has a clock that looks real nice. This guy's gonna do a vertical scene, obviously. That one is going to be an eagle, I think. So some of these guys just have way more experience than I do. So this one's gonna be an elephant. This one's kind of like a tiki head. That's pretty awesome. My neighbor here has, I think he's close to done. He might try to texture this, but I know he's got you know, an arrowhead going there. Here's another kind of a chisel relief with the star bursting, kind of like I did. This gentleman right here is making a turtle. That's coming out real cool. And then this is one of the instructors. He's doing some work on limestone, making a wine and a wine glass set. That's another instructor. I'm not sure what he's doing there. Not sure what that is. This is going to be like an hourglass, so he's going to texture in like sand going through an hourglass. Here's another vertical piece. I think he's done the other side of this already, so that's really cool. Gonna kind of radiate the starburst throughout. This one's, he said it was going to be a drop of water like hitting the ground. So that's pretty awesome. I know this was kind of a abstract, you know, kind of lady with her hand holding her head there, if you can see that. Very cool. Oh yeah, this one the guy's doing like a crashing wave. That's gonna be pretty cool. I think this one, he said he was doing a mountain scene. You know, gonna be cutting in mountain peaks up there. That's really cool. You can see the bird in there. It's all kind of shaped in 3D. So I need to get something like that, a pneumatic small drill, in order to do those kind of fine cuts in that. This is cool. The butterfly. I know she said she was digging that out and she's gonna hang a glass ball and have it be a water feature. This guy is taking off a lot of material. But that's gonna be cool if that's the bottom and then that's, you know, the vertical piece. This one was nice too. He's got kind of an old kind of Indian axe, and then he had said he was gonna turn this into a log, and then this morning he said he was gonna detach the axe, it sounded like, and then have the axe like in the log, which would be pretty cool. This gentleman here is working on a cowboy boot. It's got the textures and rounding it off. A lot of air tools, a lot of fine air tools. So what I'm doing, this obviously being my first time doing anything like this, is very obviously, I took all of this off yesterday. Like all that was just me practicing pitching, taking stone and breaking it down. So I didn't even really start doing anything with sculpting tools or anything until late yesterday, and then today. And then this stuff, obviously my piece is much smaller than some of these, but I got here late, so there are some bigger pieces out there. So if I get this done today, I'm debating on borrowing somebody's grinding cup like this. So this right here is a grinding cup that can go on my angle grinder, and then you can take that and smooth out the bottom here so it would actually stand up. So I was debating on, this is such a thick piece, I was debating on cutting this into a V, or like at least having, you know, maybe from the tip there to here, just kind of an angle, and cutting all of that down and chipping that off so it's flat down, grinding this flat, and then either leaving the sides rock pitched, because I could bring this back and have one of our companies we work with put a core hole up in the top, and this could be a flower vase. It'd be a big one, but it'd be pretty cool. So that's about what everybody's got going on here. We have a couple of vendors here. I know Matthews Monument Supply and Monument Supplier brought in coffee for everybody this morning, and I think some grab bags. And then Miles Supply is here offering all kinds of different tools. So these are the tools like I've got that go in my air hammer. These are gonna be like what I've got in my angle grinder right now for cutting the stone. And they're pretty awesome. They're just, you know, everybody here is fantastic and a trusted company in the trade. This is what Miles Supply does. If you take anything, just write it down, who you are and what it was, and they'll just get in contact with you and get payment later. So that's pretty awesome that they do that. I might buy one of these. I'm using my instructors quite a bit. The one I'm using, let me go grab it. So the one I'm using, it's kind of an in-between of some of mine. So the one I'm using of his is this one. So I don't know, it's probably like 1.5 inches. We'll see if they've got one about that size. And then on the end of it, it's not a chipper, it's not got a bowed side and a flat side. So I've got one of these where it's flat here and then rounded, and then this is also just a bigger version of that. That's got a pretty big blunt end. and this one's a little bit bigger. I have a 3-inch one of those, but not like an 1.5 inches. So this is more of 1 inch, so that might be a little small. That's a chipper like what I've got, so I don't know, I might talk to them, see what they got. But that's about it. I haven't done much video. The quarry was awesome, getting to see those explosions. The gentleman that was from the Alberton Granite Museum, who was kind of leading that trip, said that out of the hundreds of times he's been to giving quarry tours, that was his first time. Not his first time, but he said he'd probably seen the granite quarry setting off charges maybe less than 5 times, and he said 2 of them were right then and there with us while we were all there. So it was pretty special to be able to see them detonating those explosives and that. So so that was cool to be a part of. So I'll check back in with you. I'll probably run some more video while I'm doing this texturing. This tool is crazy, you know, air drives it, and there's a piston in here, and it just jumps up and down real quick, and then depending on the bit, you know, obviously it does a different texture. So but it just goes crazy, that's for sure. That's why I've got a shut-off valve on my air line. It's a Saturday morning. Not sure how loud it is out here for you guys, but it's the last day of School of Hard Rocks here, and got here a little bit ago working on my project. So I think we're working on projects until about lunchtime, and then we got some other stuff going on, so I'm gonna bring you along for the last day, and we'll have some fun.
morning, everybody. So before we start with the pneumatics, Charlie asked me to just take a minute and talk about a couple of these pieces over here. So, you know, we're always looking for new techniques to do ideas. These are all really simply done. It just takes a second to analyze what he's got going on here. So, this technique here is basically done with a small saw blade. Just a little.
Mic up, mic.
Is this thing on? Okay.
Can you hear me in the back? Put the coffee down.
So you see, just a little scoop with the saw blade, and a zip, 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 and a scoop, and a zip, 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 scoop, zip, zip, zip. Simple. This one over here, same kind of deal. Zip, 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 zip. Just random angles. This here, just with a small chisel. Drill bit. Bink, bink, bink. So the possibilities are endless. You just got to use your imagination. You know, there's stippling, there's all kind of other stuff, the flaming and all that stuff that we were doing earlier. It just brings a new dimension, a little bit more interest to your piece. People want to touch it. They want to feel the texture of the stone. Here, you'll notice in the starburst that was done here, by some standard, it's only partially done, right? But look at the impact, look at the effect from that incomplete pitching. So the bottom line is there's no wrong answer. Except for which way you hold the chisel, right, Linda? All right, so we're gonna do some tooling over here. So I'm gonna talk about this a little bit first so that you understand the method to my madness.
Zip and zap.
All we need is light. All right, so in order to do letters properly, you're going to want to start with sandblast, obviously. But the first part, the most important part of sandblast is that you blast a groove around the side of the letter first, about 50% of your depth. That way, it forces the sand straighter down the edge of that letter. If you only pulled the background first, they would immediately start to taper. And so this takes probably 20-25% out of your work if you blast that groove first. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tool this whole top edge and this bottom edge and this top and bottom and top and bottom. What I'm doing is I'm establishing my depths. Okay, don't do one letter at a time. The important thing about tooling your background is to get flat. So in order to get flat, you're going to make cross section. You're going to cross cut basically. So your chisel. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run my chisel in this direction. Okay. And you're going to start to see some tool marks develop. Then you're going to cut in this direction. And that crossing, what that does is, if you can imagine, the tool marks are starting to go this way, then you come across and your tool marks go this way. So what you're doing is you're knocking your high points off. All right, you're not increasing your valleys. If you keep going the same direction all the time, you're just going to keep dig, dig, dig. You'll never get flat. Now, in this one, these letters are cut in a band. So when you're done, there's no background, there's no border. And to do that, we would grind this edge down, and then you're going to start with your chisel in from the corner, like this, and then you're going to cross like this, but you're only going to go to the corner. Then you're going to come back this way, so that you're always working into the stone, always into the stone. So you're going to get your two diagonals done, then you're going to go across this way, and of course, finishing this way. Your tool marks are always supposed to finish in the same direction, and that's with a vertical line. Okay, So that's the basics. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on establishing my background and then cleaning up my edges of the letters. Top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. And then you're going to go and you're going to connect the dots from top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom on one side only, all the way across. Then you're going to come back all the way across. And you're just tying those so your depth is consistent. Now, somewhere in that bucket, I've got a small tire pressure gauge, depth gauge that I'll use to make sure that I am started in the right place. And you're always working, when you're working the chisel on the letters, they are delicate, right? We've knocked stone off, we know. So you're always working down and in, down and in, down and in until you get that corner nice and square. I'll show you pictures where you'll see that crisp, sharp white line at the bottom of the letter that tells you you're there. Okay? It's not difficult. It's a matter of knowing how to hold the chisel and the hammer, and that's probably the next thing I'll talk about. So, thanks. All right. So I've always got my hose over my shoulder. I'm holding my tool like this. I'm gonna run my chisel up in here. This is what the tape on my pinky's for. I don't wear gloves, I never did, I don't know. I'm tougher than that, I guess. So anyway, you will squeeze the tool into the hammer to adjust the tap. There's very little regulation that I'm gonna do with the air. All right, the biggest place you run into trouble is I don't have enough hammer, right? I'm not letting the hammer do the work, I'm afraid. So I've got my air turned down and now I'm pushing, okay? You don't want to push, you want the tool to do the work. And in order to do that, you got to make sure you got enough air hitting that hammer, okay? All right, any questions? Yeah. Okay. Oh, you know what? All right. The other cheat I'll use, little magnifiers. My friend Vladimir, who was an etcher, turned me onto these years ago. At first, I was like, eh. Well, let me tell you, game changer.
Especially when you get older. 5 minutes. 5 more minutes and you guys carve or hang out here.
All right, so you're gonna do this. It's really time consuming, so I'm kind of giving you the abridged version, right? So you're gonna do this all the way down your line. I generally will pick a chisel to work with. So I'm gonna do this, then this with my smaller chisel, and then come back and do my larger areas. Now, the thing to remember about round raised letters is you got to have a square raised letter first. Okay, so you got to finish this letter before you even think about starting to round it, because that way you know your depth is right, your width is right, because you've established your sides straight down. Okay, if you start to round before you've got your square letter, none of them are going to match because your widths are going to be all over the place. Okay, now, so what I'll do just quickly, just gonna take that's all. So I hope you notice that I'm working from the edge down a little and in a little bit more and down a little further and in a little bit more and down a little further. So I'm creating that round until I get just past the center point. And then I'm gonna come around and I'm gonna do the same thing. So, you know, this letter is not finished by any means, either in the square sense or the round sense, but you know, they don't want me taking all day and taking away from your. That's a good thing. This is a much, yeah, this is, you'll see, yep, there's some, these are in various stages of execution. And you can see, all right, so your big question, I'm sure, or one of the big questions you should get to is, what about these roundy letters? What do you do with those? Well, Crown and Holden sells these special chisels, and when you get them,
I might have it.
they look like this. Well, they don't even look like that. But then you make them look like this. So I cut my corners off, and I make myself a round chisel, okay? Now, you can attack the outside of the letter with the square chisel, that's fine. But once you get to the inside, you're never gonna get there, right? All you're gonna do is you're gonna dig. So you need those rounded corners to get into your circle, okay? Always, always work into the stone, not away from the stone. You're working this down to the bottom, and you're working the background to that line. So it's a matter of changing this position as you change this position. and a little here, and a little here, and a little here, and a little here, until they meet. And if you have good, please come carefully, pick up my chisels, feel them, okay? It's like a razor blade. When they're in the bucket, I'm invariably cutting myself, pulling one out. But if you're gonna do this kind of work, to me, that's the kind of chisel that you need, okay? It's gotta be that sharp. So I will generally, this is my bucket, and I have them laid out on my bench by size, and I'll generally have between 5 and 7 of each size, 5 sizes maybe off the top of my head, and those will get sharpened 2 or 3 times to do one stump. Okay? Questions? You typically start by sandblasting? Absolutely, you have to. You don't have to, but if you want to pull your hair out, then go from scratch. But the sandblasting gives you your consistency. Right. You don't have to worry about marking up your polish and skipping your edge and all of that stuff. Right. But you always want to sandblast the groove first. Okay? So you sandblast an outline about halfway, about 50% of what you want for your finished step. Because that forces the sand into that little groove and it makes it cut straight.
How much outline do you get to put around the left like?
Less than an inch of an inch. It's really hard to... Not much. Maybe a little bit.
Less than a beeline.
Yeah.
Like 0.08, 0.09.
It's probably pretty close to what you would see in a regular outline level.
I hear you.
Okay? And then, like I said, that forces the sand straighter down that side. Then you pull your background and bring it down to depth.
Blast that all the way down as deep as you would blast it.
You can. Well, it depends on the granite. Okay? Fine grain granite, you can get closer to finish. Coarse grain granite, not so much, because your highs and lows are more inconsistent. So, you're gonna, when you're done, you're gonna get rid of all these pock, these little pock marks.
Yeah.
All right. So the deepest part of your stone, the deepest hole, is where you go to.
How you gonna get that little nib out of there?
So, and that's the other reason why you'll see I've got some chisels that's more obvious than others. But you can see there's almost a curve.
Yeah.
And that's from my wheel. Okay? I got a 6-inch 6x1x1 39 C80 I80K Norton wheel. Okay? It's 80 grit. Nobody's allowed to touch that wheel except for the two. And then you're going to need a wheel dresser so that you can keep that wheel flat. If you're sharpening your scissors right, you generally don't have a problem. But every once in a while, I have to dress that up. And so the idea behind the taper is to get into those little areas.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yep.
Now, what do you charge for a 2x1 like that?
We are somewhere in the, honestly, I think we're somewhere between $26 to $30 per letter. And on a round, we're probably 25% over that. And the other thing we're starting to do now is if letters are in a band like this, where you got to do all the background, then there's enough charge for that too. This in a panel is so much faster, but there's a lot of stone.
there's a lot of background. Here, not so much. What else?
Are the bigger letters on that previous one, are those harder to do? Like when you're doing
Well, no, not really.
kind of
It's more about the bar width and the height. But I got a job right now, we just quoted 36-inch tall V-trunk letter to match what's on a building. They had one block, they broke.
losing a lot out of that. Hammer than I usually use, I feel like. Mike, can I ask you a quick question? Yeah.
Can I borrow that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Feel this. So again, see how I got it's all there. And then that's how I adjust my, and this is, I steer with my left hand. I got my hand on the stone, I got my elbows tucked. That is only going where I tell it to. Okay? And you're gonna work down and in, down and in. So try that. Keep that right where it's at.
So you're holding it
Yep.
like that, and then you're
More or less, yeah. Now squeeze your hand together. Got it. See where
this is the one. Yeah, okay. Your middle finger right in the.
yeah.
Turn that away from my head. So more like that.
And nope. Yep.
And then that's under. That's where your tape's at.
Yep. See. Yep. Underneath. And then you put that. Yep. That hand like that. Up underneath. You're gonna press that on the stone. Nope. Nope. Grab your. Hold your chisel. Yep. This comes. Your hand comes on the stone. Now. Yep. But you're gonna control that chisel with this hand.
And
Okay.
then move it with
This
one.
hand is gonna steer. Yes.
Then I have to go down first and then into it.
Yep. Now don't start at the very top. You're gonna start here. Let's work on this too. Okay. You're gonna start about maybe halfway down. You'll work down, and then you're gonna bring the background to where you got. And then you're gonna come down a little bit more, and that's gonna bring that bottom a little straighter. And go down a little further, and you're going to start up just a little bit higher, so that in the end, you're just barely touching the top, but you're going straight down to the bottom. So it's down and in, and down and in, and down and in.
You do one width at a time, or the whole way across?
I will
going
generally,
down?
so when I start, the first thing I would do is I would run this chisel this way, maybe once or twice, and then I would run it this way, almost to the letter. You could actually just barely touch them as long as you're not going to knock them off. So that's got your cross going this way, all right? And then I would start to work on my letter. And I would have, let's see, depending on where I'm starting, so let's say I'm starting here, I'm going to start with this chisel. And I'm going to work this, and this, and this. I'm going to skip them, I'm going to work this, and this, and this. And then when I'm done with this chisel, I grab this one, and I go through this, and I do this. Then, when I have all of those nice and sharp, then I'm going to do one last pass with this chisel, and my line on my background, all the same direction. Okay?
Seems like this turned up a little bit.
Get mine up. Now get that hose up over your shoulder. Yep.
Yeah, it feels like it cranked up a bit.
Hey now.
I think it cranked up a bit.
No, I think you're all right.
Yeah, okay. I feel like I'm gonna blow that whole letter off.
I won't mind. But you know, sometimes it's important because you got to know where that point is.
Yeah.
You got to learn where that is.
Well, it's my first time doing it, so
Seriously? Just go look at my shirt. Now, okay. Like you said, all right, so go ahead, put the chisel back in your hand. Let me show you. Come up to approach. Yep. Now, the angle that you're at is knock the letter off.
up and more vertical.
Bring your, yes,
Yeah.
underneath, yep.
And then you're supposed to do one and then under.
So, well, you're gonna, on a letter like this, you're gonna go dip, 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 dip.
That does count.
It could be.
I know it.
Oh.
If you bounce you out,
I know it.
just like throwing bags.
Yeah.
Ho!
Oh, too much heat.
Accuracy, not just Come on.
Oh! Oh!
Very good. Nice and curious. Is that pine tar on your
close.
handle? What is that? I earned it. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I'm not sure. I think that's.
Here we go.
Legal fair and
Nice and easy.
too much pine tar.
There we go.
Well, it's how far does the pine tar go?
Yeah, that's a warm up.
Oh!
Next.
There's
Oh, John.
oh, well, I was wondering where Fanny went. Figured he was next. Oh, he's out there. Fucking all over.
All right, so that was a long one. So that concludes 2024's School of Hard Rocks down in Alberton. Had a great time. We finished it up there with a rock chipping contest to see who could chip it the furthest, and I was not the winner. Wasn't even close. So I think the longest somebody hit one was, I think it was like 48 feet, something like that. It was pretty impressive. I think they said that was the longest one anybody's ever had in the 20 years the school has been going on. So just want to thank everybody that watched and enjoyed this video. It was a fun time down there. Learned a lot. Gonna bring a lot back, hopefully, to our area. I know I'm having my pieces shipped back to me, so I hope to continue that mountain scene on the one and just bring some of that knowledge back and stay in touch with some of those guys and try pushing myself a little bit more and a little bit further in my abilities and taking some of that knowledge. I know there's way more out there, but taking some of that knowledge, trying to implement it in some of the work that I do, and it'll be fun. I'm hoping to have a space where I can start doing some granite work that's more art-like. I really had a fun time doing that. So thanks to everybody down there. Thanks to all the teachers. It was a great time, great meeting everybody, and I'm hoping at some point we'll do it again. So thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.